Tranquilitease. I'm your host, Marina Mars, and today we are discussing the art of transitions. Now, whether you're a dancer or an athlete and you're transitioning from one movement to the next, or maybe you're just transitioning through some life events, like you're figuring out what's next after a job loss, you're adjusting to a new reality like we are with 2020 and COVID and with the protesting and, everything that's happening to us on this crazy daily basis. We all experience transitions, right? Some are more comfortable than others. And today, I'd like to talk about the different ways that we can approach them without being absolutely drained of all of our energy. Now, please share your thoughts in the YouTube comment section whenever you feel inspired to add your spice to this melting pot of love. Before we dive in, please be sure to click the subscribe button, followed by the little bell for notifications if you're on YouTube, or if you're on one of the other podcast streaming sites, please be sure to click follow. That way, I can guarantee that you get the content you need when you need it. Okay, let's talk transitions. So in episode 4 of the Tranquilitease, it was titled How to Change Your Mind and Become More Successful. I talked a lot about what it means and how to become an adaptation expert. In that episode, I talked a lot about altered states, recognizing seasonality, finding your purpose in order to fuel your journey, understanding our expectations and the ability to plan for the future. And we talked about turning change into bite-sized, realistic, digestible pieces. So most importantly, though, I talked to you about what it means to craft your own ritual for those transitional moments in order to make any sort of change that we want to make stick. I highly recommend you go watch that video or listen to that episode if you haven't already, because it is a companion to this one. They do go hand in hand. But that episode specifically focuses on changes and transitions that we're actively trying to make or that we choose. These tend to be a little bit more positive and delightful, right? But what about those abrupt transitions that we don't really expect in life? What about the ones that catch us off guard? How do we find grace in those moments? This is exactly what I want to talk about specifically in today's talk. So an unexpected transition is usually accompanied with a cocktail of really potent emotions, right? Maybe we're shocked or we're in a state of confusion or anxiety or paranoia. Maybe we even have a massive blow to the self-esteem. Whether it's positive or negative, being caught up somewhere unexpected can really make us feel like we've got an egg on our face, right? It's just not fun. Like, how the hell did we even get here in the first place? So here are the 6 steps that I personally take when I am dealing with unexpected transitions. Step 1, you want to rinse that sponge, the sponge that is you, of all of the heightened emotion and adrenaline. So here's the thing. When we get overwhelmed, our body reacts. It understands emotion just as the mind does, right? So the first thing that we want to do in this state is that we want to let our thoughts pass like clouds in the sky on a delightful, mostly cloudy afternoon. We're unattached to these thoughts. We recognize them, we see them happening, we take the value from them, but we let them go, right? We focus on the present moment as well. So we're taking inventory of the environment to become a little bit more aware, and we start to breathe. So, like I said, we're going through our thoughts. We're starting to breathe. If you inhale 5 counts and exhale 5. This triggers your body to be able to chill the fuck out. So we've got that going on, and now we're watching our thoughts, and we take an inventory of our environment in terms of, all right, so behind me, there is a sheet. This is red. The air is a really nice temperature. I'd say maybe 70 degrees. I can't really smell anything. So that's nice. At least I know that there's no shit in the room. See how I'm taking inventory of my environment because it makes me become a little bit more present, and it allows those thoughts, if I accidentally get a little bit too attached to them, to be able to just drift away, because now I have something else in my mind. It's calming my body. It's bringing me back to this moment, and I'm not stuck in the paralysis of what the fuck is going on. Step 2, we want to accept the fact that whatever happened, And whether or not we understand it or like it doesn't matter. We just accept that it happened. This seems kind of obvious, right? But it's really not. Sometimes we skip this step and it causes a lot of damage, a lot of trauma that later we just have to unpack. So, this includes crying if you're sad, or taking a moment to recognize, like, yes, this really did just happen. Step number 3, we remember the wise words of my dear love, Marie Forleo. We remember that everything is figure outable, right? You have all of the answers you need inside of you to be able to survive this. Why? Because this unexpected transition, whatever it is, has happened to humans before in general. And humans have been around for a long time. We're going to continue to be around for a long time. We are designed to survive this. So just remember that, right? No matter what it is, I promise you, we got this. Step number 4, we ask ourselves, where do we want to be, right? After we've recognized where we currently are, we've accepted what has happened, next we want to figure out, okay, what's the game plan? Where do we need to go from here? Step number 5, we are plotting. We begin plotting our path from point A to B now that we've decided what those variables are. That's pretty cool. When we're trying to figure out how to get from point A to B and we're plotting that out, we want to make sure that you fill in as many details as possible. You want to make them bite-sized tasks. So if one step actually requires 5 single steps, that's actually the definition of a project, right? A project has multiple steps. We don't want this list, this plotting from point A to B to be a bunch of projects. We want it to be a bunch of tiny, digestible, simple tasks that we can do. By simple, I don't mean super easy and we're going to make this as easy as possible. What I mean is we're making it as straightforward as possible and trying not to miss anything that could potentially occur in between. Yes, it makes your to-do list longer, but the act of checking that box off feels really good, and now you get to check off a bunch of them. Step number 6, take at least one action, accomplish at least one task today, right now. We don't want to live in a transition, right? Like, that's the goal. The goal is to get through it and get done with it so that we can be at either point A or point B. We don't want to get stuck in limbo. So we're just going to keep moving forward. So now we're going to talk about what this process looks like in 3 different examples in terms of amounts of time that the transition requires you to take, whether that's 5 seconds or the rest of your life. 3 different scenarios for you, and by no means do I think that this is expansive, and by no means do I think I'm going to be giving these examples very much justice, because I'm not about to make a 6-hour episode on this, but bear with me. Somewhere in here is where you lie. So in the first scenario, maybe we're a dancer or an athlete. I'm going to use the dancer example because I am a dancer. So this transition is only going to affect the next few minutes until the end of my song, really, right? Or the end of my act when I need to get off stage. So perhaps something was happening on stage and I was at point A and I needed to get to point B, but then I sneezed, or the stage was different than I thought it would be, or my costume didn't work right. Whatever it is, something got in the way and I got a really quick improv and figure this shit out. So we're just going to go through all of the steps here. This is an excellent moment to become present. So step number 1, we're rinsing, right? Deep inhale and a deep exhale. All right, I've accepted that this is happening because I literally only have a split second to accept it before I need to move forward, because the song is continuing on. They're not going to stop just because something happened to me, right? So step 2 and step 1 happen at the same time, really there. Step 3, remember. What am I remembering? That I have all the tools inside of myself that I need. If I'm in the situation where I am on stage or I'm at a competition, I clearly have enough skill to be able to figure it out, right? So I just need to know that and have that confidence in me to move forward. So now I've gone through steps 1 through 3 within the matter of, God, a millisecond, a second here, because you have to. We're on to step number 4, where we recommit. So that's where I need to make a conscious decision. All right, am I going to go to, like, how am I going to get to point B that I originally had choreographed? Is it possible? Cool. If so, how am I going to get there? If not, okay, well, maybe there's some other way I can get there. Like I just need to improv my way to the end of the song. So instead of getting from point A to P, I'm going to point A to C. That's okay too. Both are perfectly valid options for the most part, at least in the type of performance I do. So, in that recommitting process, we decided that we're not going to get off the stage. And step 5, we plotted, okay, I chose between point B and C about where I want to go. So now we do it. We decided we're not giving up. We picked which option. Now we're going to go forward into step number 6, action. So you just take one step at a time until you get there, basically, right? So you don't stop the music and re-choreograph every step again and then get back on stage. Like, I've never been to a show where that has happened before, ever. But that's the really cool part about dance and movement culture in general, right? In that moment, in those transitions, especially the unexpected ones, that's where we find your identity as a dancer. That is where we see your individuality, right? Individuality rarely presents itself when you're holding a pose or nailing, a tough trick, because by definition, those points and those tricks are defined and subject to conformity, or else, quote, you're not doing it right, So, but it's that stuff in between where the magic happens, anyways. So let it exist and revel in its natural form. You just created a new pathway from point A to B on the spot. So even though, yeah, it might have felt like a mistake, you're the only one that knows that. If you're the choreographer, the audience doesn't matter. They don't care. And if in the case that you are freestyling and you're just doing this by yourself and you want to get better at those transitions, those little moments of flow between the tricks, recognize that you're probably already really good at them if you just chill the fuck out and accept all of the things that we've already discussed beforehand. We did all of the rinse, accept, remember, recommit, and plot so that the action felt better and looked better. In scenario number 2, we're going to use the example of maybe you have a group project, whether you're at work or in school, but you just became solo for the day because all your team members, something happened to them. Maybe they got sick, or maybe no one else could work on it but you for whatever reason. This may not affect your entire project, but it will affect your one day, right? So you can no longer take your intended path from point A to B, but point B still exists, at least, right? This is an excellent moment for us to, again, become present. So let's go through the process. So step 1, rinse. This could take moments. This could take hours. Don't skip this step. You're allowed to feel inconvenienced or upset. So get it out responsibly, or else it could negatively affect your group project and your relationship to your team members in the future. If the feelings are extra heavy, maybe you even need to go work out quick or go do a quick yoga session to just get the chemicals out of your body so you can chill the fuck out. Step number 2, accept, right? So this is just your new reality. What's out of your control, you gotta let go of it, Why carry this extra weight when your team is not even there to help you carry it? It's not helpful. But here's what you can do. You can make a list of things that upset you, and then you can categorize them, right? What things that upset you do you have control over, and what things do you not have control over? The things that you don't have control over, just take another nice deep breath and throw it in the fucking garbage, because there's nothing you can do about it anyway, so why care? Doesn't matter. You don't have control, let it go. But you do have this list of things you can control, and oh my goodness, that will come in handy. We're going to utilize that shortly. But we're going to move on to step number 3 first, which is remember. What are we remembering? That you literally have all the tools inside of yourself already, and you are a valued member of this team, right? So if you put your honest effort into the project, then you've already maximized your potential in regards to what you truly have control over. It's all anyone can really ask out of you anyway, So that brings us to step number 4, which is recommitting, right? So the script that we often tell ourselves is the most powerful tool to get through this. So, I might tell myself in this situation, look, I will get done any solo aspect I can to keep this train somewhat on track. I'm not just going to mentally clock out just because my team isn't present. So this ensures that you can leave the day behind feeling good, like you're feeling good about what you've done rather than upset by what hasn't been done or who wasn't there. Now we can focus on what did go right, and that's powerful. So we move into step number 5. Number 5 is when we plot. So as we mentioned before, like your initial A to B path clearly isn't going to work today because people are missing. So you begin to list what you can and cannot do alone. Remember that tasks are bite-sized pieces and they're not projects with multiple tasks within them. When you make your list in tasks and not projects. I can't stress this enough, and that's why I'm going to keep repeating it because it bears repeating. And remember that list we made before? That one about what we do and do not have control over? The things that we do have control over, we can just use in this step. We already made half of our list. That's pretty cool. So now we can just keep moving forward. Which brings us to step number 6, the action step. You just gotta do it. Get that list going. Organize your list by top priority and the due date. Now you have a new roadmap from point A to B, and it's a solo one, so no one else can really mess up this journey anymore. You got this. So look, you made it through another transition. Amazing. All right, so scenario number 3. Let's say you've been diagnosed with a lifelong debilitation of some kind, and life will just never be the same. Maybe these transitions are going to affect the next few days, weeks, months, years, rather than just the next few seconds or just today, right? The same steps are going to work here, honestly, and I'm not trying to make light of anything here. I'm just saying, I'm going to use some personal examples to help you through this as well. Really, the same method is just going to work, right? So let's start with rinse. You want to take your time here. You want to cry. You want to mourn the loss of your old life. Mourn the loss of point B, if you will, your initial point B that is now gone. Or you can celebrate it. Maybe you're not the kind of person who gets through things through crying and you like a good party, a good celebration, a good cheers, a good send-off. Consider throwing that party, especially, now in COVID times and we kind of want to keep socially distanced anyway. It's easier than ever to put together a virtual hangout that no one has. It's really low key. It's not a big deal. You can have the support of all the people you love right when you need it. Don't be afraid to ask your friends for help. Don't be afraid to lean on them. They can help you create space to mourn as well if your life is too busy. For example, ask them to help you cook a meal or clean something or just getting basic tasks done so that you can focus on making this unexpected transition as graceful as possible. Moving on to step 2, we want to accept, right? We want to accept our new reality. And I'm not saying that you have to like it or approve of it. I'm just saying that you have to recognize that the world is different. But recognize what parts of the world are still the same. I'm going to be honest with you. I had a brush with COVID where I lost my sense of smell and my sense of taste. I didn't know if it would be for the rest of my life or if it would just be a temporary, undetermined amount of time. All of the studies, all the research coming in about COVID was very unclear. Some people who got COVID back in March still haven't regained these senses. And we don't really know why. We don't even have a vaccine. It wasn't until I accepted my potential new reality that I just may never get these senses back that I actually started to heal. And I'm very excited to say that it is slowly coming back, but it's still not what it used to be. But had I not accepted this potentially new reality, I wouldn't have been able to heal or begin my healing process. The stress from the denial itself would have prevented me from healing. The same thing happened to me when I was diagnosed with panic disorder. I knew my life would never be the same, and the brain damage was there. It's been done. But again, my life circumstances didn't improve until I accepted it and moved into the next steps. So we moved into step 3 and we remember, right? We remember that we have all the tools inside of us to get through this. Sure, we may have to seek help from professionals to aid and ease the ailment, but the transition is what's up to you. Studies have shown that people with growth mindsets are much more likely to survive life-threatening diagnoses than people with similar medical backgrounds that have a fixed mindset. Meaning, Those who believe that they can do better actually do better. So in step number 4, we recommit, We recognize that life is no longer what we were hoping for, And I'm so sorry about that. By the way, no matter what you're going through, I'm so sorry. It fucking sucks. However, something to keep in mind here is that none of us has to be born in the first place, right? So, is this really much different from that? Remind yourself why you love life, who you love to spend it with, and why finding a new perspective will totally be worth it. Recommit. So, for example, here's what my recommitment would look like, right? Look, I lost something I may not regain for the rest of my life. But that doesn't mean I have to spend the rest of my life focusing on what I lost. I will commit to the journey of healing, but I'll also commit to the journey of life again because I almost just lost it back there. In the example of COVID, people are dying every day. And if losing a couple senses or making them a little bit less strong than they used to be is like the worst that happens, like, yeah, it's sad, but I'm alive. That brings us to step number 5, the plot, right? So this is when we can finally talk to our doctors about treatment plans or lawyers about our assets and so on. And this is where we can reach out to our network again and take note on which actions we wish to take next. We wait a second to take the steps because now our minds are clear, right? We had feelings and then we processed them and we recommitted to life. And now we have the mental clarity to really put our best foot forward. Can you imagine taking the plotting step and the action step before doing everything else? Why take in information if you're not going to accept it? And now we made it to the action step number 6. Let's fucking do this. We've officially gracefully transitioned through one of life's greatest upsets. The unexpected existential transition. There are few feats greater than that. Do you realize? Like, sure, climbing Mount Everest is cool, right? But give yourself some credit. This is the step that many people just never get to, right? Whether the unexpected transition was met with denial or rage, misunderstanding, alcoholism, drug addiction, sex addiction, abuse, you name it, right? By taking part in this process in the healthy way, by rinsing, coming to terms with our feelings, accepting them, recommitting, coming up with a game plan, and then moving forward with the transition, now we no longer have to worry about repressed emotions in the future. We don't have to deal with undealt trauma because while, yes, trauma has occurred, whether it's micro or massive, you dealt with it in the moment. So it's done, right? I mean, of course, you still might feel some feelings here and there, but now 20 years down the road, you don't have to go sit in a therapist's office and be like, I can't figure out why I'm such a mean person or why I have listening problems. Like, no, like now you know. Now you know because it's not repressed, because you made it through this unexpected transition with grace for yourself and the world around you. So, as we found, a lot of how you deal with the unexpected boils down to mindset and the paradigm that you choose to live in. So, every single human being is going to deal with an unexpected transition of some type in their life, and they're going to deal with a lot of them. There's nothing special about chaos in this way. But what makes us who we are lies in the way that we deal with that chaos. In simple terms, unexpected transition becomes an art form when you've got a growth mindset. However, an unexpected transition becomes paralyzing when you're stuck with a fixed mindset. Whether we fall by ambition, blood, or lust, like diamonds, we're cut with our own dust. So please tell me about your experience with unexpected transitions. Head on down to the YouTube comment section and tell us about it. Please don't be shy. On a final note, if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter, the Martian Gazette, I highly recommend it because it is a free sporadic dose of love, beauty, and pleasure. For more information, click the description if you're here on YouTube, or go ahead and check out marinamars.com if you are tuning in from another streaming site. Thank you for spending your time with me today, lovely. Until next time, my loves, XOXO.